Hey guys, how's it going? It's Rolando.Trumpeter, your host for Inside the Freelance Musician. Today's special guest is Nick McClure, and for today's topic, we will be talking about what it's like to be a marching band tech, whether it be brass like myself or audio like Nick. We are at the Contest of Champions marching band competition at Jacksonville State University in Jacksonville, Alabama, home of the Marching Southerners.
Indeed, we are.
Yeah, which is really, really cool. So I want to say thank you to Jump and Jolt for hosting this and allowing us to do this episode at their location. By the way, great coffee. Again, not a commercial, but it's just a nice thank you. So yes, we are currently live, which is great. All right, so Nick, how's it going?
Good. We had a car ride here, as opposed to walking, and it was a lot of straight. It was no less straight.
Yeah.
It was just straight for a shorter amount of time. So it was something. We ate.
There. It was about like almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
So it was nice. We stopped, got some food, kind of enjoyed the scenery. About maybe a quarter of that, we had zero cell phone service. So that was very interesting.
Yeah. The the ratio of cell service to cows kind of fluctuated there.
Exactly.
You know.
So it was good. Nice. Okay. Cool. So man, let's get started. Let's go ahead and discuss our experiences with marching band.
Yeah.
So, let me ask you this now. Prior to starting marching band, and when you started marching band, more or less, now that you've had quite some years underneath your belt, what is one skill that you would like to improve, and what was your plan in doing so when you started marching band?
Probably. I think lately the main skill that I find that I lack, that I need to improve, is the confrontation of students. Like not just trying to be their friend and really give them the information that they need in that moment, that is often so time sensitive. That there's that window after they do something that needs correction or needs addressing, that you can either rush in and say, hey, don't do this, do it like this, here's why, as opposed to being like, oh well, that was good, but you could improve it, but like sugarcoating things. And my plan for improving it has been as detailed and complicated as don't not do that. But which is like so much of it, just being willing to put yourself out there and kind of disregard what the student thinks of you, because they need that information right then and there. And so it's not the most interesting skill to have to build, but I think that's really what teaching is. You're the interface between the information and the student who needs it.
Right.
And if you sugarcoat that or adulterate it somehow, that's not the information anymore. That's just being their friend, and they might have a subjectively better experience in that moment,
Sure.
But they're not going to play any better because of it. And so that's the main thing that I'm trying to work on right now, and it's a hard process.
Yeah, it is a very hard process. Thank you. That's awesome. Kind of just lies back of the students needing the structure that they don't necessarily say they want, but it's something they need, and ultimately I think it's something that they crave.
Yeah.
So we're in this little alleyway of Jump and Jolt.
We just pulled up in a hallway.
So you will see some people coming in and out, and I apologize for that. However, today's topic is very important because we are at a marching band competition. Again, it's a contest of champions here at JSU.
Yeah, cool. Indeed. All right. Do you want me to
Sure, yeah, please.
I'll take this. So you being someone who plays, and though you teach well, you also play, and playing well doesn't come without practicing well. How do you balance being a player who's out there doing gigs, playing trumpet, and trying to manage that practice time with the very demanding schedule of marching band?
Oh man, that's a very good one, and it's very tough. I think honestly, just setting the time to have that schedule laid out is probably going to be the best idea or formula,
Sure.
if you will. Make sure that you just plan everything down to the minute. Especially myself being a freelancer, I drive a lot, being based in the Metro Atlanta area. Making sure that I stay ahead of traffic is always going to be one of my top priorities. Otherwise, if you're late, don't bother showing up.
Sure.
Or so we've been told, since the marching band era.
Yeah.
But another thing too is just making sure you're setting your priorities straight, whether it be hanging out with friends or practicing your trumpet. So for trumpet for me, there are times where I feel like I neglect hanging out with people. However, it's either do my work and continue to play and do what I love, or hang out and not get paid for what I love doing.
Yeah, sure.
So, and another thing too with marching band is just making sure that I stay proactive with my playing, so that when it's time for me to demonstrate some sort of a run or any form of lick that the students want to hear or they need to hear or what it needs to sound like, then I can provide that for them.
Oh, sure.
So they need to have that model of sound, proper technique, all of the above, you name it. They need to understand what it should sound like as opposed to what they think it sounds like.
Yeah, because it's easy to say, hey, do this thing.
Yes.
But if they don't see it in context, no, like, here's what I mean by breath support, and then you actually demonstrate it.
Yeah.
If you can get it as close to the epitome of that thing done well as possible, they're gonna have that example. Like,
Yes.
have you ever heard the expression, like, don't judge a piece of music until you hear it played really well?
Yeah.
Well, like, how can they, like, they might hate long tones until they see someone do long tones really well, and then they're like, oh shoot, that's like steroids.
Yeah, it is.
I told you that,
Long
but until
tones.
you see it.
Yeah. You're completely right. And I think it's easier, like you're saying, it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
And that's why I harp on, you need, that's a tech, you need to stay active with your duties, whether it be freelancing or teaching a 9 to 5, whatever the norm, what society calls it.
Yeah.
I think it's important and it's crucial for the kids, for the students, to have that model of what they need to go for.
Yeah.
Nice. Good question.
Yeah. Thanks, man. It's almost as if we like got together
I know,
ahead
right?
of time and like
it's funny how these things
specifically crafted it. Yeah. So, but now, like that said, that like being able to demonstrate things like that's assuming that there are challenges that those students are going to have to overcome.
Yes.
But then as freelancers, you and I aren't exempt from that. Like we have challenges that we have to overcome, and instead of having staff over us that can kind of point us in the right direction, we have to be the people to point ourselves in the right direction. How do you overcome, like is there a specific example of a time that you've had to overcome a challenge relative to marching band in that kind of context?
In that kind of context, I think being able to more or less change my teaching skills. So it's not necessarily like what my philosophy is about teaching, but it's more or less kind of being able to go from one-on-one to a larger group.
Yeah.
With Creekview, when you're in charge of 65, 70 something brass students, you got to make sure that whatever you say doesn't necessarily apply to one person, but it needs to apply to everybody else. And I think one of the biggest challenges for me that I'm still overcoming or trying to figure out as an instructor is, how do I portray that message that one student needs to hear, but everybody else should hear. So in terms of the, I guess, like my pedagogical skills, more or less.
Yeah.
So being able to just address what I need to say, like we were talking about before, it's what I need to say to this one kid that can also be demonstrated towards everybody else, so that they can understand what that challenge is.
Yeah.
So
gosh.
And I mean, and I need to be able to do that myself too. So, look, I'm thankful enough that I still have very close friends with whom I studied with who are my mentors and friends now.
Yeah.
So I still thank you. By the way, I want to give a shout out to John Bryant, Jonathan Swagger.
John Bryant.
Yeah. So that they're the type of people that you want to have, the mentor that you can always reach to, and just ask and see what kind of challenges you may have. Because I mean, they were gone. They might have already overcome that challenge, and they can have a way to explain it. Just like I will need to know how to teach that one challenge over to the kids.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so often, like, great teaching is not just, like, having to synthesize everything yourself. Like, look, whenever I'm running a rehearsal or even, like, a one-on-one lesson or something, I'm always stealing things that I've heard people tell me that I've just picked up along, and I can almost do it without even having to think of anything original on the spot, because I've had enough lessons. I've been in enough rehearsals to know how to phrase it so that I'm not having to think about how I'm telling them to go back to measure one. I always have my phraseology and everything, and that applies to the level of, like, tools. Like how do you diagnose that tuning problem or that timing problem, and you would,
or the marching problem.
Well, yeah. That's one thing. Working with the front ensemble, I'm not worried about.
It's a whole different episode for that one. Yeah. Nice. That was
awesome.
Good. All right, so so moving on. Let me let's switch it up a little bit more on, like, the business side, I guess, if you will, which is basically what this podcast really boils down to, and it's the networking aspect of it. How much more do you gain from being a marching band tech, working with all these great band directors from around the area, and then I guess more or less kind of just personalize that and make that for your own use, for your own personal, professional gain. So what does networking mean to you, and how do you even network?
Well, I mean, certainly what it means to me is just who you know, and not just who you know, but as bad as this sounds, how you use it. Like, not that you're using people in, like, in a way that's exploiting them somehow, but you are using the connections that you have, or you aren't. And I mean, we all have connections that we have that we don't use, and then that kind of grows cold over time. But like, how to use that is that you have to put yourself out there. Like, if you have zero connections, and you're coming out of high school or something, and you know that you want to go to school for music, you know that you want to freelance. I mean, how many people do you know that like you met that you went to college with, that you haven't heard from since? And now, if they were to call you up, you'd be like, I haven't even talked to you in like 7 years, dude. And so, like, pay attention to the people around you, even if you might not think that, they're all that great of a person, or like whatever. Like, you have to be willing to invest into people. Like the people that I have networked with most, like the director that we're under right now with this high school, like I met him because he was getting his master's right after I finished my undergrad. And so, like, we were doing that at the same place. We also had some mutual contacts, and he didn't know me from anyone else, but he trusted his contacts that they wouldn't bring me to him if I had no idea what I was doing. And so, like, that all came because I didn't burn bridges before they were done being built.
Yeah, that's very important.
And so that's how I've done it. But I'm also coming at this, like, I'm not really even working vocationally full time in music. I'm primarily in audio. I do work with our front ensemble. You being someone who plays, I'm like, how does that look different for you in networking?
Yeah, no, it's honestly it's the same. I think networking doesn't necessarily matter what job set you're in.
Sure.
I think networking ultimately is just network for everybody.
Yeah.
So make sure that we don't burn any bridges, making sure that we're constantly being proactive with your own major, your own art, your own job. I think ultimately that's what's really going to help you out with the networking.
Sure.
For me myself, I use social media a lot. Whether people like it or not, but I use it.
Yeah.
And it's constantly making sure that I stay up to date with everybody else.
Yeah.
Hey, how are you doing? It's as little as that really maintains a relationship going, whether it be personal or professional.
Yeah.
But as long as you're still showing your face,
yeah,
that's how I maintain my networking.
Absolutely. Now that I've gotten to know you better, you absolutely live that out in practice. Like he's not just saying that. I mean, you are very good at making me feel like you're interested in what I'm doing.
I really am.
and I mean, it doesn't have to be some sort of drawn out hey, do you want to go camping later today? But just being willing, for us carpooling here, we didn't have to do that.
Right.
But you're also investing into someone else, and that it can be as big as that, or even just like you're saying, staying up to date with social media. I as someone who am friends with you on social media, I see you posting from gigs and stuff. Yeah. And there's also that psychological element of, oh, he's posting from gigs, he's getting work, he must be good.
Yeah.
And so that it's all sort of this self-sustaining thing that if you fall down on one element of it, it's not going to work as well.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. Man.
Now,
good question so far. Great answer.
Now that's what we're doing in our work. Yeah. How do you say that you were to get spare time every now and then?
Yeah.
What would you do hypothetically outside of work, especially as a freelancer?
As a freelancer, man, I love camping. I think camping is by far one of my favorite, if not my top hobby that I love.
Really?
Doing. I don't get to do it as often, and I certainly don't get to do it as much as I would like. But I mean, camping for me has been one of the top things that I've enjoyed here in the past 10 years or so.
Really? Okay. So you've been doing this for
not
just a weekend.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
I know how to start a fire in the rain, so that's pretty cool.
Wow. So
I got some pretty cool skills that I think are cool, but camping would definitely be one. I just recently bought a hammock, and I've been waiting to use the hammock. The hammock is literally still in its little bag, little sack. I haven't been taking it out, and I bought that 4 months ago.
Really, and it's still sitting there.
It's still sitting there.
So yeah, hypothetically, if you ever were to get
if I were to ever have some time off, I would go camping. Yeah. What about you?
It's been so long. I actually just finished my last 2 weeks at my former current full-time job. I start my next full-time job on Monday.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. I don't actually have a lot of spare time recently, but what I do like doing, I like gaming and stuff, but more so I'm trying to read more books, not just fiction, but about audio, and like trying to be a student of my craft, even when I'm not working it, which might be dangerous. But I have some big, thick books about how they build factories and stuff, so that it's not deafening inside, which is really interesting. I also love podcasting. We enjoyed 2 episodes of this awesome murder mystery podcast on the way here.
Yeah.
And so that's stuff I love, and I'm trying to stay active in mountain biking, stuff that keeps me fit. I won't reveal how much sugar is in this coffee, but relatively fit, which is hard trying to balance all that. But I enjoy it when I have time.
Good, man. That's awesome. We actually had a conversation about biking. Trying to get into biking myself. So.
Yeah, it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
Totally do it. But now, so that's more of a full scope of the personal life that we lead. But now, how has working in music, especially from the perspective of a freelancer, changed your own personal life?
Oh man.
Whether it's professional or private.
Yeah. Professional, I mean, and honestly, this answer probably goes both, whether it be personal or professional. But I think music just has the ability to really persuade a person's emotions, whether it be for happy or whether it be for sad. Whether you are currently in a very emotional state, you want to listen to something that kind of just makes you feel that mood with that, whether it be a piece of music or a song.
Yeah.
And if you're happy, you want to go ahead and just start screaming in your car or shouting music in your car. But for instance, like a personal experience for me would have to be kind of just dealing over like the depression and anxiety that I'm currently dealing with, which I like to think I'm doing okay, but you just never know. So like a couple years ago, my mom passed. She passed from cancer, and it was like the lowest I've ever been in my life. I don't think I've ever reached a whole new level of low until that that day. And it was what do? Do I leave music? Do I do something else? Because music constantly just reminds me of my mom. Like every single time I pick up the horn, she was always there for me.
Yeah.
Growing up, I remember her just going to my concerts, whether it be at Mercer University or Young Harris College. Her and my dad would always just drive up there or down there, whichever way it was.
Yeah.
And I think when my mom passed, it was roughly about 8 months or so that it took me to really pick up my trumpet. So I took about 6 to 8 months off from music, just playing trumpet in general, because I just didn't have it. There wasn't a will to do such a thing. So I just started listening back to music. I decided what do I want to do now.
Yeah.
So I just started listening back to orchestral music. I think Mahler, to me, Mahler 5 will be that one symphony that will always stick out. And that whether it be a trumpet player's thing or not, it just has so much to do it.
Yeah.
Especially the second one, Mahler 2, The Resurrection. Oh
Certainly.
my gosh. Ugh.
Yeah.
There's just so much emotion into just one piece of music. So to me, like a personal, that's something that has just been, music is something that's been able to just lift me spiritually to continue and to shine light on depression, on anxiety, and let people know that it's totally doable, that it's okay to be depressed, it's okay to have anxiety. And most importantly, it's okay to talk about it, and it's also okay not to talk about it, but just know that there are people caring for you.
Yeah.
And to me, music showed me that in a personal level. Obviously, professionally, I could talk to you about it all day long, but
Sure.
I let my playing talking on that one. But I think personal, that would have to be my answer. What about yourself?
Well, actually, I even had this kind of pre-thought before you even said that, but like the other side of that, like you had said something about that every time that you pick up the horn, it reminds you of her, Well, that I'm sure happened because that music brought you together closer, and like that's one thing. Like especially playing in a church context, like I have played at my church for the last 8 years or so, and what I've noticed is that whenever I'm not there, it's not that I miss playing. Like I can play at home. But I miss playing with those people, and even though it's not necessarily executed the best, because it's mostly volunteers who might have any range of skill, but like it brings people together in such a way that other things really don't have the ability to,
Right.
and so hearing someone say, yeah, every time that I engage in music, it reminds me of so and so.
Yeah.
Well, probably because that relationship was cultivated in part because of the ability of music to do that. I mean, there's a reason I think that like throughout church history, the Christian church has used music in worship. Like they have a high view of the ability of music to bring people together.
Yeah.
And I mean that's that's a very powerful thing, and so that I think is the most lasting effect in my own life in doing that. And I mean, how many students do you know that you like still keep up with?
Yeah.
I have one that joined the Navy like the year after she graduated, and like it means so much to her that we still keep in touch, and that she knows that I'm so proud of her. It's fine.
That's okay. Yeah.
And so that's a big deal to not just me, but the other people that it brings in. So
Nice. Well,
oof.
that's awesome, man. Like, you know, it gets to a point where it's like, well, how personal can you get? You know, so, well, you know, how much time do you have? That's always been
Sure.
my answer, you know, because I can talk about it all day long. I guess since Java Jolt, I believe, is getting ready to close, I guess we just have time for one more question. And it sounds easy, but the answer might not be as easy. Do you feel fulfilled through the work of music?
Me personally?
Personally.
Gosh, well, yes and no. I am someone who tries to not let myself get idols in a way that like puts all of my hope on something that I know at some point will fail me. You know, and you know, it's not a perfect world, and so you like can't expect anything in it to like ultimately fulfill you, like that your like self-worth is grounded in it or something. And so in that sense, I don't want to set music up to do that for me and then me be disillusioned later. But it does fulfill me in that it fulfills the goals that I put for it very well. You know, it does what it's supposed to do, and as long as you keep that in check, and that you aren't like, whenever music isn't doing it for you, if you ground your worth in that, then that's gonna lead you further into whatever rut you're seeking to get out of through music. But like, if you have realistic goals, in my view, then that music is not going to let you down, because you can see it as something that's not perfect, but that is a good thing in and of itself. And if you let it be the good thing that it is, not letting it become, not taking a good thing and making it into an ultimate thing wrongly, and then letting that thing fall back on you. Instead, you can come along next to it and say, please be the good thing that I know that you are, even if it's not perfect. And then not only will it not let you down in that way, but you'll also probably enjoy music a whole lot more anyway, you know?
That's true. That's
very
true.
So, I mean, that's a mixed bag answer, I know.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more episodes in the near future, talking about what it's like to be a freelancer, whether it be marching band or in a different setting. Again, I want to say thank you so much to Nick for being out here and doing this great interview with us.
Happy to do it.
So once again, Rolando Fernandez with Inside the Freelance Musician. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good one.